Hi, I'm Reese, a designer with the Quilted Cow, and today I'm taking you back to the basics with binding. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsors Husqvarna Viking Sewing Machine, Creative Grids, mats, rulers, and cutters, and the beautiful Wilmington Prince fabric I'll be using today. Let's get started. Today's tutorial is going to be about attaching binding to a finished quilt or today a table topper. This is the Grayson pillow design, but I have used that design for my topper today. You can get that pillow design at thequiltedcow.com. It is the Grayson pillow design. Let's get started on the binding. I love binding. It is so fun because it's the finishing touches to your project. My favorite is to do a scrappy binding. That's where you have multiple strips of different types of fabrics and you attach them. So, all the way around your quilt, you get a different kind of fabric. So, let's piece these together. You'll want to take one piece and lay it across the other. And you'll want your fabric to come a little bit past it. You'll want to use a creative grid and line it up from corner to corner on the wrong side of your top fabric. And it helps me to use a pin that will disappear with heat to draw that line. And then I always like to just put one pin in to keep it straight as I sew it. So we're going to sew on that line. I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, I have stitched along that line. And now we're going to trim a 1/4 inch away using our creative grid. And then we're going to just trim off these little pieces on the edge. So your binding pieces, when sewn together, should look like this. Now we're going to press that seam open. When doing any kind of pressing, you want to make sure that you press your fabrics to the dark side. And then here is your strip of binding. You may have to add a few extra strips to make it long enough to go around your pillow. The next step when doing your binding is you want to fold it in half. And then we'll use our iron. You want to do that all the way down your binding. Fold it in half and press. All right, now you have a binding strip. Next step is I'm going to teach you how to attach the binding to this placemat. So first things first is you will turn it over because you're going to attach it to the back first. You can see here I have sewn multiple scrappy pieces of fabric, and this is going to be our binding. Okay, you want to take your binding and lay it raw edges together, and you're going to want to pin it. I always like to start a little ways down, probably in the middle. That's where I like to start my first stitch. All right, I'm going to go over here and sew this. Okay, I have sewn like 1/4 inch away from the very end of that first row. And I'm going to turn my fabric and I'm going to sew straight into the corner. Okay, so as you can see, I have sewn a 1/4 inch down this line. And then when I was about 1/4 inch away from the edge, I went straight to the corner. So you sew here and then you turn your fabric and sew directly into that corner. This is how you are going to get your mitered corners later on. Your next step, because your next step is fold on that corner like that. And then you're going to pull it straight down and folding it to the edge like that. Make sure you pin that, or you can use wander clips. I love wander clips as well. Those are sometimes easier than pinning it. And you're just going to pin all the way down, just like you did your last one. And then we're going to sew 1/4 inch all the way down this side. And then again, once you get about 1/4 inch away, you're going to turn your fabric and sew directly into that corner. You'll be able to see it better on this one because it is a darker fabric. You can see how I sewed 1/4 inch and then I went straight into the corner. We're going to repeat that process again on this next side. Okay, I have almost gotten to my other side of binding. You can see the two different colors. I want to sew right to it. I don't want to sew on the blue of the binding, but right up to it. Okay, now that we've sewn 1/4 inch all the way around and we have sewn all the way to the blue binding, but not on it, now we're going to attach the two. We're going to press this side open. So this is the side we pressed open, and then you want the raw edges on the outside. And then we're going to stitch a line from this corner to this corner. We can use our creative grids and our disappearing with ink marker. Mark a line. This will give us a nice mitered corner like we did earlier when we were attaching the two strips. All right, let's do that. Now that we've sewn on this line, we're going to trim 1/4 inch away from it. Be very, very, very careful when doing this. You could even use scissors if you would feel more comfortable so you don't cut your project. Next step is we're going to press the binding. It's easier when you're trying to fold it over to the other side. To give it a nice, good press in the corners. Now we're going to flip it over to the right side and we're going to take that binding and just pull it over. And this is where I love to use wander clips. They are just perfect. Okay, now we're getting close to this edge and we're wanting a mitered corner. So what we're going to do is make sure that's flat and we're just going to fold it over so you get a nice mitered corner. So it's folded like this, and then we're going to take this one and just fold it back over on top of it. I always like to do a nice good clip there. Just continue all the way around. Okay, so you want to continue using either wander clips, or we could even use pins to pin it all the way around. Continuing to do your corners that same way. I do recommend wander clips. They are better than pins, but you will continue doing that all the way around. And once you've pinned your quilt like this, or your table topper, you're going to sew probably 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch just inside this binding. All right, let's do that. Okay, now I'm getting close to the corner. I want to keep continuing on. And then when I get close, I want to make sure that I'm grabbing that other piece, the other side of that binding, before I turn my binding, turn my project. And then I will continue on again. I've attached the binding by sewing 1/4 inch, or you could do 1/8 inch. It's really whatever you prefer. But I didn't sew into the corners. I just wanted to make sure that I grabbed this side of the binding before I turned my project. So that way I captured the binding so it'd stay down. And look how easy that was. Binding is so fun and so easy. Now I did my binding at 2.5 inches. I love doing it at 2.5 because you can also use jelly rolls to make your binding out of, which is a lot of fun. if you're doing a scrappy binding. If not, you can use just regular fabric and you can cut it to whatever size you prefer. Well, thank you for watching. Remember to check out our website, thequiltedcow.com, for not only more tutorials, but also great kits that we have. Like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.
Okay, you wicked cool quilters, good job. You made it to the end. We would like to thank our sponsors, Husqvarna Viking Sewing Machines, Creative Grids, rulers, rotary cutters, and mats, and Wilmington Prints for the beautiful fabrics. Thanks for watching.